Good morning and welcome to the Morning Voiceover Huddle. How's it going? TGIF, I'm Bill DeWeese, professional voiceover talent and voiceover coach, and I'm so glad you've decided to stop by because every weekday morning we get together at about this time just to talk voiceover. Usually I have a tip, a trick, a strategy, a thought, something to move you toward greater profitability to help you make more money in your voiceover business. And today, Fridays, traditionally are our Q&A days. So what's on your mind? What is it that has you befuddled in regards to voiceover? Something maybe you're struggling with, you don't understand, something that I can help you with. I will get in as many questions as I can at the time that I have. I've got a full day of recording and voiceover related stuff, which is exciting. But I want to make sure I get in as many questions as you have or as I can. So if you have something, make sure you throw it up in the live stream chat right now. Let me know who you are, where you're watching or listening from this morning. And while you're doing that, just a quick thought or two. Yesterday was an exciting day around the house. Yesterday was a big day for Cincinnati. Every home opener is a big deal here, and they throw a big parade and everything. Maybe every major league town does that. I don't know. But there's a lot of tradition here with the Cincinnati Reds being the first professional baseball team in Major League Baseball. And my wife got to go. I didn't. I was working. That's okay. If I have a chance to record, I'll always choose being behind a microphone when I can. But she went downtown with her brother, and they were able to catch the parade. And I saw a picture my daughter posted yesterday of my 13-year-old grandson who had his first track meet yesterday, discus and the 800 meter. I haven't heard the report on how it went, but boy, he sure looked good in his uniform, big smile on his face. He was ready to go at it. My younger 11-year-old grandson getting ready to play some baseball. Saw some video of him the other day, and he's in fine pitching form right now. So I'm excited to watch him play. And my granddaughter, who's younger still, will be playing softball this season. So we're excited to make it back to Illinois as often as we can to watch the grandkids do their thing. All right, I can see now that the live stream chat is filling up. Let's see what we've got going on. Ty in Warsaw, Indiana, what's going on? Good morning. Mark in Albuquerque, Phil in Tokyo, thanks for tuning in this evening. Janet in Florida, Jason in Mobile, Rusty in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Susan, how are you in New Jersey? Wayne in Western Washington. Tim, Salt Lake City. Hey, Rob. I know it was nice in Cincinnati yesterday. What happened? It's a soggy mess today. Steve in Oshkosh. Christopher, how are you doing? Auditioning like crazy here in Durham, North Carolina. Christopher, keep on keeping on. That's awesome. Patrick, good morning to you in Maryland. Viv, how's it going? Happy Friday. Tess in Tequila, Georgia. What a productive week. Love it. PJ in Beaufort, South Carolina. Hey, PJ. John in the far west Chicago suburbs. Okay, here we go. Our first question of the morning. It's related to gear. I currently have a USB mic, but will I have to eventually upgrade to an XLR with audio interface? If you eventually get a non-USB mic, and the USB mics are so much better now than they used to be. If you get to the point, I say if, not if, when you get to the point when you're really cranking out a higher volume of work and the money is flowing in steadily and you decide you want to upgrade to something more expensive, which most of us do, when we're making the money, XLR, and you wouldn't need an audio interface for that. One of the audio interfaces that I recommend is the Focusrite Scarlett. They have it in a solo version, one channel. I have the one I have, I think I own two of them. I've got two of pretty much everything, redundancies and everything. It was a 2-channel because that was the smallest that was available at that time. So you could have 2 inputs, which for voiceover, I certainly don't need. They're not terribly expensive. Oh, AJB writes, he asks, why the Reds? Why not the Reds? Well, you see, I grew up in Ohio, and so I grew up in the Columbus area, and I've been a huge Cincinnati Reds fan I used to dream of playing baseball. I used to watch Johnny Bench and Pete Rose and Tony Perez and David Concepcion and Joe Morgan, and I could go on and on and on. These guys were my idols. And I'll never forget, the first time walking into Riverfront Stadium as a kid. It's just, um, it's a big deal. And with my wife growing up in Cincinnati, everybody watches like every baseball game. I mean, it's like the thing. Everybody, every game now is televised, I think, for pretty much every Major League Baseball team, unlike when I was growing up. So that's just what you do. Everybody knows what's going on with the Reds. Everybody knows what's going on with the Bengals. And I think in a smaller market like this, when I say smaller, it's not small, it's a large market, but it's not like a Chicago or Los Angeles where you've got multiple baseball teams, multiple football teams. So loyalties are fierce for these teams. They're absolutely fierce. I hope if you're wondering what the yipping is in the background, it's one of my dogs. He's caught vision of something out there that he thinks is a threat, probably a leaf blowing across the yard, and he is yapping at it right now. Aaron, good morning. Do I have any good resources to learn the Apollo twin? I feel like I'm behind the controls of Space Shuttle. Yeah, Aaron, I tell you what I did, Universal Audio, who makes the Apollo twin, that's just an audio interface, by the way, for those of you who don't know. And there's a bit going on with it. They make videos on everything. And so what I did, I just started watching videos on the interface and on the plugins that I use. And then I just goofed around with it. And that's how I learned how to use it. So just go to their website and dig around there, and I'm sure you'll find, and on YouTube, you'll find a lot of good stuff. James in South Africa. How are you doing, James? Jay in Massachusetts, his Red Sox lost. So sorry about that. Well, as did the Reds yesterday. Tanya, good Friday morning. Happy weekend from South Philly. Jacqueline, how are you? Bucks Country, Pennsylvania. Sandra in Westerville, Ohio. Now that I have work, I need help with time management. Yeah. Yes, learning, my hope for you is that at some point, Sandra, you'll be so busy that you'll really need some intensive time management help. That would be the ultimate goal. You're just so busy that, that would become a big deal. But certainly, I mean, even before you get super busy, it can become a bit of a hassle. And it's really about, I read a book years ago, and I don't consider myself the world's best time manager. I try, and I really believe I let the 80-20% rule guide me, that 20% of my activity produces 80% of the work. So I try to resist the temptation to just get satisfaction out of being busy and getting stuff done, because stuff is not always, there's a lot, 80% of the stuff out there is not that productive. Only about 20% is. So I try to keep focused on what's most important. In other words, what's going to give me the most return on the time that I spend. And then I try to always keep in mind what's the most important thing I can do right now. And I read a book about that. Pick the 5 most important things for the day, and let that be and only start with the most important one. And don't do anything until you get the most important one done. Now, in real life, I know stuff happens. We get distracted. But if you're every once in a while stopping and thinking, okay, am I doing the thing right now that is most important in terms of the return that it will provide? If you do that on a regular basis, that's a good start, and will at least keep you moving in the right direction and keep you from spinning your wheels and burning energy on things that might give you a sense of satisfaction that you finished them, but really don't bring you much of a return, because there can be a big difference between the two. Kathleen says, I've got almost all my equipment. I need a shock mount for the mic. Is there a certain type? No, I mean, I've used everything from the very cheap generic shock mount on Amazon to this is a Neumann shock mount that came with the microphone. So I'm not, when it comes to gear, windscreen shock mounts, arms. I mean, some are nicer than others, and I've got mine are nice, but you don't want a mic, stand that's going to fall over on you and drop and break your microphone, obviously. But I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time sweating bullets over it. Just get something that fits, and make sure it has a lot of reviews that shows that it actually works. Hey, Amanda in Alabama. Do you know when you will be doing a class on voice acting in video games and anime? I don't at this point. I've got a friend who's very big in video games, and we've talked on occasion, and I would love to wrangle him in but he's so busy. So we'll see. Hey, Wade, how are you doing in Philadelphia? James picked up the new book. Thank you, James, for getting my new book. Can't wait to dive in and learn all kinds of useful info. Particularly happy to have the audiobook version as well. Yeah, yeah, thank you for that. And by the way, guys, there's a link below in the description if you haven't downloaded your digital copy of the book, and along with that comes the audiobook. But it's also the paperback version is available on Amazon. All you have to do is enter my name, and I've written 2 books. They'll both pop up there. And by the way, when you do buy the book, make sure you leave a review. That would be very helpful. I appreciate that. Austin, good morning from Chandler, Arizona. First time to be on the stream. Austin, welcome. Love it. Hope you'll make it a regular part of your morning routine. Hey, Atlanta is in the house. Good morning. How soundproof is a whisper room really? Is the question. Well, it's not soundproof. I'll tell you that. I love my whisper room. I've had this whisper room. I bought this, probably 12, 13 years ago. It served me very well. It helps. It does 2 things. Number 1, it helps to control acoustically, I can better control what's going on around me. I don't have to treat my entire room. I just treat the booth. And so I've got high grade RLX acoustic foam. It's very dense, very absorbent. So that's great and very helpful. And then it's not soundproof, but it's sound resistant. I guess that would be the best way to explain it. I would say it's like 75% soundproof. In other words, about 25% of everything going on is still going to leak through, but at least it hits a surface that knocks it down quite a few dB before it makes it into the booth. So it makes it much more manageable. But when you've got, airplanes flying overhead and trucks that are really generating that low end rumble, it's going to penetrate and get through. But again, that being said, I love my whisper room. It's far more effective than creating a moving blanket tent. I mean, not that those, hey, if that's what a lot of people start with, and it helps, you use what you can. But at the point that you can afford one, and they're not cheap, this booth brand new would be, I believe, $3,600. It might be more now with the way prices have been going up. I haven't priced them out lately. I bought mine used. It was only 2 weeks old. Got it from a production company in Chicago. Used it for one project. They bought a bunch of them, like 6 or 7 of them, I think, for a project. Used them for 2 weeks. Turned around, sold them for half of what they bought them for. So I picked this up for $1,800. And Mallory, my daughter, and I, at the time, we had, remember the Ford Sport Tracks? It was like half Ford Explorer, half pickup truck. We drove the Sport Track up to this production company, loaded this bad boy in, and drove it home. We looked like the Beverly Hillbillies moving in that truck coming home. All this stuff piled up, hanging out. Good memories. Okay, let's get another question. And Austin says, just finished my DIY demo. I'm getting my account set up for Fiverr, ACX, and Upwork. Well, that is the single most important thing that you can do now. Now, the next thing that you got to think, what can you control? Once you set up like Fiverr and Upwork, once the things are set up, there's like with Fiverr, there's nothing that you can do actively except create new gigs. With ACX, you have more control to book work. So what I would do next is focus on ACX and start auditioning for books, like knock out like 10 auditions a day. So you can start getting some books in the queue and start getting some revenue generated for your business. So that would be my next step after that. Mark says, why do buyers continue to offer under your rate on Fiverr? Does it hurt my status by turning these down? Number 1, no, it doesn't hurt your status by turning them down. Not that I'm aware of. I turned quite a few down. And I'm going to make this the last question. Mark, the thing you have to keep in mind is that when Fiverr was built, it was built in such a way that it attracted I'm trying to think of the nicest way to put this. An element of voice seeker that they're not really, I mean, it was extremely low end type stuff. These are people who had virtually no budgets and come from places in which the culture is everything's negotiable, and they're trying to get you at the cheapest rate they possibly can. Not that it's a bad thing to negotiate to get the best rate you can, but there's no sense of value involved. It was how quick how quick and how cheap. That's the culture of the typical client they attracted. Why exactly? I'm not sure, but that's not unusual when you have an international platform like that. It's going to happen. So you just have to expect that's going to happen. As a matter of fact, my biggest strategy on Fiverr is to price myself so that I don't get those clients. So for instance, I had somebody yesterday. They've been they've been messaging me for the past week off and on. Hey, I've got this project. We love you. Um, and I don't know what country they're from, but I can tell they don't speak English natively. And what I'm not saying is that everybody who doesn't speak English natively, it doesn't pay well. That's not my point. But typically, there's kind of certain pockets around the world where you're dealing with more of a culture where you're not going to get financially, the money's not available, but also they're going to try to work you down to the lowest possible rate. So, with that being said, these people kept reaching out. Hey, okay, we love you and we love your stuff. We're going to get something to you. Great. So, great, whatever. Just when it's ready, send it. So yesterday they sent the script. So I recorded a sample and I quoted for it. It was like $350 for, I don't know, it wasn't a terribly long narration. It was, I think, a couple hundred words, but it was promotional in nature. So there was a commercial upcharge on that. And I haven't heard another word, which is fine. That's the way I want it. I don't want to waste my time with the back and forth. My point being is that I use that as a strategy. By turning down. And by turning down, the way I do it is I give them a price and a quote that they'll most likely turn away. Now, not everybody, obviously. So, my last couple projects paid, the last project was a 500, and I think the one before that was more than that. So, I mean, the clients are out there, and Fiverr is doing a good job. They're working hard to bring in a higher caliber of client. And when I say that, what I mean is people who are dealing with bigger, better paid projects in which they're willing to pay more for voiceover talent. So that's happening. It's going to take a number of years for them to really, truly cultivate that. I mean, it's happening, and I get those jobs, and I just turn away the rest. You can pick and choose what you want, and it's not hurt my status. All right, guys, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Have a great day, a wonderful weekend. We'll see you Monday. Take care.